It's time for Mr. Fundamental!
Presented by no one.
Heading into the 2020 NBA offseason, it's pretty standard that there are rumors of every single team pursuing a disgruntled star. While the media and other channels are focusing on that, we're looking at realistic targets for each NBA team that will pair well with a potential star trade or act as alternatives. First up is the Phoenix Suns. A quick overview of what they have entering the offseason. They're one of the few teams with cap space to use, since they have around $83 million in guaranteed salary, just under $7 million in player options, and around $22 million in cap holds for Saric, Carter, and Baines. As for the draft, they have the 10th pick. The Suns took a huge step this season in building a solid foundation and showing improvements on both ends of the floor. That unforgettable 8-0 run in the bubble was a reminder to everyone that they'll be competing for a playoff spot next season. One of the areas the Suns are looking to upgrade is the power forward spot. They've been linked to signing Gallo, Bertans, and Crowder with the cap space. While they're certainly great fits, there are also downsides to signing them. This is the first year Gallo had a full healthy season. I mean, last year with the Clippers was alright, but did miss like 10 games due to a back injury, or reporting an assortment of ankle injuries throughout the past 2 years. The Heat have been aggressive in pursuing Gallo at the trade deadline, but couldn't agree to an extension. They'll do the same this offseason, and the only edge the Suns have is offering a longer contract. That might not bode well for the Suns if injuries hit Gallo again, especially with a Suns team that want to run with a young core. Defense is the main drawback for Bertans, but his shooting and gravity is hard to pass up. On the other hand, they've got Cam Johnson, who fills a similar role with more mobility on the defensive end, younger, and a lot cheaper. Out of these three targets, I think Crowder would be cheaper and provide the steady veteran presence and defense in the front court. But we'll never know whether the Suns will be paying, let's say, $13 million for the Grizzlies version of Crowder or the Heat version. Collectively, there's another downside to these three targets. Suns' great season could be comparable to the one that the Kings had the season prior. They went out to get veterans like Joseph, Dedmon, and Ariza. That didn't turn out well, but the Suns' targets will be commanding even more money. Another name that has come up is Jeremy Grant, and he fits the Suns in terms of age and skill set, but I think the Nuggets are going to keep him at all costs. The first underrated target for the Suns is Kelly Olynyk. He isn't a free agent, but if the Heat want to retain both Dragic and Crowder, while signing a big free agent, they'll need to clear some salary. That means the cost of getting Olynyk could be very cheap, or the Suns could get some additional assets as well. Each of Baines, Saric, and Kaminsky brought their own skill set to the Suns' big man rotation, but Olynyk combines all of them into one. He has the toughness and defense of Baines, and the shooting, passing, and off-the-dribble creation of Saric and Kaminsky. He can play both the 4 or 5, but we all saw how effective Saric on the bench became when he manned the 5 in the bubble. Best of all, the Suns could still be players in the next offseason, cut ties with Olynyk if he struggles, and become an insurance if Baines or Saric outprice themselves in free agency. In a similar style, the Suns could target Tony Snell, the 3-and-D wing who just had his best season. The cost of getting him won't be too high, since the Pistons are heading into a rebuild. No NBA team can have enough 3-and-D wings, and seeing how effective the Suns were by downsizing in the bubble, getting Snell could shore up their bench if Cam Johnson starts, or sliding Oubre to the 4. Contract-wise, it's the same situation as Olynyk. Another player the Suns could target is Solomon Hill. I know it's not the flashiest move, but Hill was a decent 3-and-D forward and provided a veteran presence for the rebuilding Grizzlies. His biggest flaw was his $12 million a year contract, but now that he's a free agent, it doesn't matter anymore. He's gonna be a cheap target who could still fill a need and doesn't take away time from their young wings. I know Mo Harkless would be a better target, but he'll probably join a contender or stay with the Knicks if he wants to get paid and help a rebuilding team. The last target for the front court is a trade for Blake Griffin. His skill set is actually a pretty good fit for the Suns. At his best, he has an in-and-out game that could complement Booker's perimeter skills and Ayton's post game. His passing will be welcomed by Monty Williams, who has Saric and Ayton initiating sets at the high post. At worst, he'll replicate what Saric has done for them last season. Although he carries the same injury risks and a larger contract than Gallo, absorbing Griffin's contract will probably net them Luke Kennard and maybe additional assets. The Suns have been linked to Kennard near the trade deadline, and provides another smart, scoring presence either besides or behind Booker. He could become what the Suns thought Tyler Johnson would provide last season. The Suns could even run a backcourt of Booker and Kennard for stretches. Even though they aren't natural lead guards, both have played in that role before, where sharing duties between them would be viable. If that happens, the Suns would have a scoring guard and pull-up threat besides Booker, which will unlock the Suns' offense even more. I've talked about this in the comment section with code JJM and suggest that our offense ran by Rubio have a ceiling at around league average. That's due to his inconsistent shooting and defense don't respect him as a scorer. Rubio has been crucial for Monty Williams to initiate his sets, but the Suns will need an upgrade to reach another level. That's why I have Tyrese Haliburton as their next target. He's a two-way guard, similar to the mold of DeJounte Murray. I know there are better scoring guard prospects out there, and I just said they need an upgrade, but Haliburton, I was torn between choosing Trey Burke or Cameron Payne. Although the Suns would be more familiar with Payne, with what he did in the bubble, Burke has a better track record. He also showcased his abilities in playoffs with the Mavs, and might command a larger contract as well. If Burke outprices himself, they could go after Payne. Either way, the Suns will get a scoring guard coming off the bench, besides a defensive-minded guard in Javon Carter, which has yielded great results. The reason I wouldn't spend big on Payne or Burke is because the recent performance was a small sample size, and the Suns still have prospects like Elie Okobo, Ty Jerome, and Jalen LeCue, who could potentially fill that role as well. Another way the Suns could get another scoring threat in the backcourt is by drafting another wing, like Vassell or Okoro. This would make Oubre a little bit more expendable and use him as a trade chip. Chris Paul has been linked to many teams, with the Thunder possibly eyeing a rebuild soon. CP3 would be perfect for the Suns in terms of skill set, a two-way guard who could facilitate sets for the Suns while also getting his own. He's no slouch on the defensive end as well, and we saw how good of a mentor he was towards SGA and Schroeder. After playing besides Harden, CP3 was happy to take a backseat and share the wealth with the rest of the Thunder and led them to the playoffs. That's what the Suns need to compete for the playoffs next season, and it might not cost too much. Most importantly, the Suns could keep their young core intact. Packaging Oubre, Rubio, with a young player like Okobo and a future predicted draft pick should get the job done, since the Suns are giving them cap relief, while Oubre could net them more assets in the future. They could even include Saric in a sign-in trade, who would be enticing for the rebuilding Thunder and replace Gallo. Oladipo and Holiday are more appealing targets, but also more costly that could give up Bridges, Johnson, and your 10th pick, which is a no-no. Alternatively, the Suns could target Schroeder instead. A direct swap between Oubre and Schroeder works out in terms of salary and team needs, but I think the Thunder might ask for a second rounder, which shouldn't be a deal breaker for the Suns. And that's it. Let me know down below whether you agree on these selections or not. Comment down below if I missed out on anything, or some underrated and realistic targets that the Suns should pursue. A lot could change over the offseason, and one small trade in the NBA could cause a ripple effect across the league, so let's see how things turn out at the end of the offseason. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like down below, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.